we look forward to the success of our partnership and to produce results. And many of us in this room look forward to see you in Busan next year at a very, very important meeting for all of us. Okay, this is the part where I'm supposed to take off my jacket and tell you what's going on. Are you ready? Okay. It's getting a little harder to take off my jacket because I'm collecting a lot of airport and airline food here around my waist. But that will keep me incented to keep my weight down. This is a very special time in ICANN's history. 15. You all remember when you were 15? Got your first shaver if you're a boy. Somebody told you that you're now going to be an adult. And in a way, I think we're going through this transformation as well at ICANN. Together as a community, we are taking all the learnings from the last 15 years and preparing ourselves for an important future. And so, I'll find my clicker here. If you recall, when we started, we said we have a new season. And indeed, it's been a year. A year ago, I met many of you in Toronto, and you had asked me to start this journey with you. And it's been quite a journey. I'm an immigrant twice. First, because my parents moved from our native country to Lebanon, where I ended up having to learn to live in a new land. And then second time when I had to leave as an adult to come to the United States and learn again to integrate into a community. But now I'm an immigrant a third time. Because when I arrived to this community, I did not know how strong and deep this community is. And I was definitely an immigrant in your community a year ago. I didn't know what to expect. But I had the experience of having been through an integration activity before. And I must tell you, a year on, I'm feeling at home now, thanks to many of you. So thank you for that. Thank you. And it's a testament to you, to the beautiful empathy, as Steve called it, the beautiful relationships many of you have. And there are so many in this room, I can't even start counting. As I meet many of you, I find out how all interconnected we are. Thank you for welcoming me to this great community, and I hope I'll be able to serve it well in the years ahead. It's been a year, and when we started, I told you that we need to get the ground ready. I think we're done with that phase. We're starting our year 2 of the new season. And in the second year, we're starting to see these buds coming. We're starting to see the fruit that we will hopefully reap in the years ahead start sprouting. And what does that really mean? So I'm going to take us a little bit on a journey over the last year so we see how far we've come together. If you recall, we laid out in Toronto these 4 objectives and the 16 goals under them. This was the roadmap we've set up so we can go on this journey together. In each of these objectives, we found projects and we found initiatives together that are needed to advance our program. Let me walk you through these. First, affirmation of purpose. Today, core to our purpose is getting our core activities off the ground. When I met a group of you that is actually right here in front of me, when I started, I asked, if you remember Vint over that dinner and John, I asked, what would be catastrophic a year from today? What would be a terrible thing for ICANN a year from today? And at that moment, all the people at that dinner told me, make sure that this new GTLD program gets off the ground. If it doesn't, not only is it a problem for the GTLD program, it's a problem for the credibility of ICANN. Today, we can celebrate this success. The GTLD program is off the ground. In fact, we have added more new GTLDs to the route today than all the GTLDs in the history of ICANN as of today. 24 new GTLDs, and I love watching them on the left of your screen there in Arabic, in Cyrillic, and in English, and that's something to celebrate, all of us. So congratulations. We have focused on DNSSEC, not just because my boss tells me that every time I meet him, Dr. Crocker, but because it's important. DNSSEC is central to the stability and resiliency of our internet. And I'm very happy to let you know that the biggest new TLD that was just signed is China. We just got confirmation. So congratulations to all of us and to China. Our teams have been busy around the world in trainings, lots of capacity building on DNSSEC. And this is important, and we will continue this work. Our policy work, which is central to ICANN, has been progressing very well. And today, I'd like to invite all of us to change our posture about our policy-making process. And this, Jonathan Robinson from the GNSO didn't pay me to say this. It is important that we stop badgering our own PDP process. It works. It produces results. And the amount of effort that our community puts in making these PDPs produce policy is incredible. Multi-stakeholder bottom-up policy is not easy. Top-down policy is hard. This is much harder, and yet we are producing policy. So let's stop being defensive and instead celebrate our policy machine. It works. It works. And our community, the advice we've been getting from the ALAC, thanks to the energized ALAC and the leadership of Olivier. Tremendous work. And the seriousness with which this work is affecting our activities at the board. Thank you, ALAC. Thank you, SSAC. Thank you, SSAC as well, because SSAC has been very diligent in giving us valuable advice. We should celebrate all these things. I want to point out from this slide also the important public interest commitments. If you recall, this is now like ancient history, during the last 12 months, we completed, working with the registries and the registrars, 2 important agreements. The RA and the RAA are tremendous progress for ICANN and for this community. And within the registry agreement, we introduced the concept of voluntary public interest commitments, which many registries made. 477 registry agreements with public interest commitments. This is the new ICANN, the ICANN that knows that our ultimate responsibility is to the registrant, to the user, and that the registries and registrars are our partners to deliver value to that user. This is the right posture, and this is the right approach. And finally, I'll point out to you ICANN Learn. Visit learn.icann.org. This is a new canvas we created for any of us to actually learn or to teach. It's a beautiful new platform. And I want to, frankly, congratulate ALAC for being the first part of our community to leverage the new learning platform of ICANN. And they have used it this last week to actually invite anyone who wants to take leadership training and to learn how we grow together at ICANN. We need to share our knowledge, share our experience. Anyone can add a course, Anyone can take a course, all free, all welcome, into the new learn.icann.org. At the bottom of the slide, you see some of our work to affirm our purpose together with our partners. You heard Steve Crocker invite my colleagues who are steeped in the commitment to the multi-stakeholder internet governance and activities they do. And every time I meet with them, I learn more about the great work that goes on in ISOC, in the regional registries, in W3C, in the IETF, and I had the pleasure of going to my second IETF meeting in Vancouver. What a tremendous community together we are. And so I thank them for welcoming me, because I am the newbie and learning all the time from them. Thank you for welcoming me to your community. We've done quite a bit together in the last 12 months, and I look forward to do a lot more together with you. And finally, on the IG ecosystem, the internet governance ecosystem is important. Many of you have seen our activities in the last few months and said, why is ICANN busy with this? Because ICANN is not an island. ICANN is part of an ecosystem. And the environment around us affects us. We have to be engaged. It doesn't mean we leave behind our responsibilities. It doesn't mean we increase our responsibilities. We have a clear remit. We have to stick to our knitting and do it well. But we have to also be active participants in the ecosystem. And therefore, we support the IGF. We will continue to support the IGF. This is central to the multi-stakeholder success on a global level. And we will do everything we can to work with our community in OneNet, the new platform, the new initiative, the new dialogue that we should all have in the months and years ahead about the importance of the multi-stakeholder model. I go to our operational excellence. I remember meeting some of the alumni of the board for a breakfast in Prague when I was brought in to meet the community. And boy, did they take me to task on operational excellence. Hagen is here. He was the leader of that pack, telling me, focus on operational excellence. ICANN is not just reflected in its policy and its commitment to its core principles, but also in its ability to deliver its capabilities and its services. So we did. And that was the part that was, frankly, natural to me, because that's our background. And therefore, we created a new division. The Global Domains Division is a very important step forward in how we deliver our capabilities. And by the way, I didn't come to ICANN thinking, oh, we need to create a division. Some of our community members were criticizing me. One of you here in this room wrote a tough blog about ICANN, called us Janus-faced. I called him, and I said, let's sit down and talk. Why are we Janus-faced? He said, because it's hard. You have on one side this Global Domains Division, and on one side you have to do all these things purely bottom up, and sometimes these things get mixed. Fix it. So I said, would you help me? He said, yes. And the CC community immediately called a meeting and invited us to help us fix ICANN's operations. And we went for it. And we listened, and we learned, and we created the GDD. So thank you. I know you're here, Mathieu. Thank you very much for helping me get through that. Many in the registries were telling us we need to get these delegations to go fast. We cannot wait months. So working with IANA, working operationally to improve our processes, we are now down to a week instead of months to make these delegations work. Ibero, very important as the number of registries grows. Our commitment to our communities to make sure that as registries grow and sprout around the world, we have proper emergency mechanisms to deal with failures. We have 2 Iberos up and running today. Contractual compliance. This was the third area. Many of you caught me early on. Fadi, contractual compliance must report to you. Within a month of me starting, Maggie reported to me. We tripled the size of that department. We gave them all the resources they need, and most importantly, we told them that they're not policemen. What they are stewards of the public interest. They are responsible to make sure registrants are well served. So they can be tough through their work, but they also have to work with our community to make sure all of us are partners in serving the same end user. And I thank this team for the great work they've done in the last year. Many people told us, "Omar, are you ready to contract hundreds of contracts?" The numbers speak for themselves. We have a superb process, systems, and people now to deal with contracting. 960 applicants in the last few weeks have been invited to start contracting. And we already signed 144 registry agreements in weeks. Weeks, not months. Very big focus in this area. I want to congratulate IANA for being the first department at ICANN to pass the EFQM Commitment to Excellence test. This took a whole year of hard work to pass that test, and we did. And we now are planning to take this same level of excellence across all of the other ICANN operations departments. The L route. The L route is now one of the most, it is the most present route on the planet. 146 instances in 71 countries. This is the ICANN, one of the routes that ICANN is managing. The one route that ICANN is managing. And then on the left-hand side, I want to show the systems we've implemented. Many of you said operational excellence, as you know, is process, systems, and people. We needed systems at ICANN. All these systems on the left have now been deployed at ICANN successfully. And I've deployed CRM systems before, and some companies take years to get a CRM system out. We have all these systems now deployed and operational at ICANN. I want to point to cost management. Many of you have said, ICANN is a runaway budget. Well, as we grow, as we fulfill our mission, we need to start implementing cost management procedures and cost management systems. This is normal. We don't want ICANN's money to be spent ever unnecessarily. So we are adding, number one, a full procurement department, which we didn't have, so we can start managing our spending in a structured way. We're adding cost management systems. Already, just using these systems and these procedures, we've reduced the expected increase of our health costs significantly from 12 to 1.6%. And we are doing the same in translation through good planning and revamped teams and streaming. Just at this meeting, we, without losing any quality, as some of you can attest to our translation, we have reduced our translation costs at this meeting by $221,000. This is cost management without quality reduction. And we will continue to do that because that's our responsibility to you. The third of our objectives was internationalization. And if you recall, we came up with this idea that we shouldn't have one headquarters. ICANN is global. We should have 3 headquarters. So we do now. Since we talked to you, we have established legal entities, offices, and teams in Istanbul, Singapore, and of course in Los Angeles. We have moved the posture of ICANN from being a US-centric, frankly, Los Angeles-centric organization to a global organization. In Asia, we had 1 person. We will have 12 people by the end of March. In Africa, we had 1 person in Egypt, looking mostly north. Now we have a team led by Pierre, and we're growing across Africa. And the same needs to happen across all regions. And we're opening engagement centers. Montevideo, Beijing, Genève next month. And Dr. Tarek Kamel will be moving to Geneva and leading our new team in the engagement office in Geneva. This is the ICANN we want. An ICANN that also builds its plans bottom up. I am extremely happy to report to you that from the first day we started, we told our engagement teams, we're not sending you to these places to talk. We're sending you to listen so that you can learn what regions need. And so we started 6 regional bottom-up strategy meetings. These took hundreds of people that got engaged in order for us to build our strategies bottom-up. This is very hard stuff. I used to work for IBM, where we made a strategy at the top and then told everybody how to do it. Here, we had to get everyone from the bottom up to tell us, not just ICANN, but also our partners. Everyone was involved. ISOC, the RIRs, everyone was invited to tell us how to perform in these regions. The country partnerships you heard today about KISA, but a month ago I was in New Delhi and we announced the first DNS security research center in the world in partnership with India's largest research laboratory. And we're very glad to do that with the government and the researchers in India. One of the programs that is very dear to me is the fellowship program. Many of you here are fellows, right? Fellows, can you stand up? Welcome, welcome. And many of the fellows from the last year are leaders this year. My count is 5. Fellows have become community leaders. We grew the fellowship program from 90 to 120, and I challenged my team to get it to 200 as soon as possible and make sure it serves all communities across the world and all stakeholders. Our meeting attendance in the last year compared to the year before went up by 28%. So we are seeing a growth also in the people attending these meetings. We established a speakers bureau. And this bureau has been fielding not just myself and our team, but also our board members and our community members across the world. We have reached 33,000 people through our speaker activities in the last 12 months. And you can see the breakdown by country. One of the projects I'm very proud of is the glossary project. Some of you in the communities came and told us, ICANN has good translation, but the terms you use don't fit for us. What you use to describe the internet or multi-stakeholderism in Spanish is not exactly how we see it locally. So we listened, and we immediately started a bottom-up glossaries project. And the glossary is up and running, and it'll be on the ICANN website this week. In 6 languages, glossaries built bottom-up in the regions, so we all use your language, not the way we see it, but the way you say it. My ICANN, if you remember, was something we did because many of you told us that the website is very difficult to navigate. I still think it's difficult to navigate. But what we did in the meantime is created My ICANN. Today, My ICANN is the most successful, most used online tool of ICANN in its history. 9,000 registered users are on My ICANN today, getting daily or weekly briefs automatically generated based on your interests and the things you are following. And who is .icann.org, our newest website, the first time we start a new website at launch in all 6 UN languages. So, we continue internationalization, because internationalization is not just about numbers and facts. Internationalization is about all of us understanding the other person first and making an effort to go to the other people, to go to the other regions and be part of their culture, be part of their understanding. And yes, someone mentioned that I'm doing a lot of miles, but that's the only way we can be together and we can understand each other and advance our internationalization, not by sitting in my office in LA. The last of the 4 objectives was to evolve our multi-stakeholder model. And this is an area that is much more delicate because we love our multi-stakeholder model. And it is probably maybe the most sophisticated governance model that man has created. It's the most complex one as well. The fear we have is for that model to end up being not fully inclusive. We need to bring more people to it, so it doesn't become a model that is comfortable for a few. The legitimacy of ICANN is in the ability of everyone to participate in that model. We lose that, we lose our legitimacy. And so we started a project called ICANN Labs. Hundreds of you participated. This is the first time in my 30-year software development career where we're developing software with hundreds of people telling us how they want it. In real time. Literally in real time. Those of you who have been on ICANN Labs, you would go up, you'd tell us what you want, we'd have coders code it, put it up, and then you tell us, we don't like it. And we killed some of the experiments. We enabled others. And ICANN Labs has been producing some great ideas. Why? Because these are the ideas that the community wants in order to be more inclusive and enable more people to participate, engage, and make policy. I want to thank you for what you did to help us, and ICANN Labs will continue. But here's the good news. Out of ICANN Labs, we have developed now a number of excellent applications based on your specifications, and they will be part of the new ICANN website, which we will unveil in Singapore. I had a preview, and it's fantastic, because it's a website built around you, not around us. It's built around the needs of the community, and it has some very powerful engagement and new applications to enable all of us to participate. So you will see it in Singapore. You've also heard that the ATRT2, and here also during our meeting, they will be sharing a lot of their work, has produced their recommendations. 12 very important recommendations. I must tell you, when I arrived at ICANN, I had very little understanding of this ATRT thing. I knew there's a lot of activity going, and then I got a couple of calls from people here in this room, and they said, you have to pay attention to this. This is what gives you also legitimacy. You have to understand what's behind this. And then when we looked at it, we were rushed to start paying more resources and attention to the core of the ATRT1 recommendations. And I'm happy to tell you that during my first summer at ICANN, this was my #1 focus. And we got all the ATRT1 recommendations completed, as we promised, by the end of the year. Then we started the ATRT2 effort, and now we have their 12 recommendations. I want to assure you that no one needs to explain to me the importance of this anymore. I know what it is, and it's on the top of my priority. And these 12 recommendations, which I think, by the way, pack some incredibly important evolution recommendations for us. I will pay attention to them, my team will pay attention to them, but more importantly, all of us should pay attention to them. Because if we implement them, ICANN will be a better and more legitimate organization for the world. Of course, the growth numbers you can see for yourself, but I want to focus on our panels and the EWG. This is important. Many of you, and I'm not going to ask you to stand, were not happy with the creation of the EWG, the expert working group that was focusing on our directory services. You were not happy because you said that's not bottom-up. Who are these experts? Where are the experts? Why do you bring another team and you say they will come up with a solution? But let me tell you, the idea here was not to replace in any way, shape, or form our policy processes. It was not to replace the work that the community still needs to do, but it was a way for us to create some knowledge that allows us to work together and build solutions. And the same applies to the strategy panels. Many people are asking, why do we need these strategy panels? They're just new, fresh thought that comes together and produces hopefully some input, not output. They produce input to the community. So we can take it, absorb it, learn from it, and advance our work. And I want to publicly commend the expert working group because they presented their progress yesterday. Jean-François Baril, who's sitting here, a friend of mine who I pulled into our community as well, and I asked for him to lead this. And the results of the work, as many of you have seen yesterday, are stellar. And they will help us finally move the directory services debate to a new level of dialogue through our processes, not outside of our processes. Same with the strategy panels. And I want to thank the heads of our 4 strategy panels here today with us. Dr. Vint Cerf from Google, all of you know him. Nick Waynor, who's leading our public responsibility panel. And Professor Beth Novak, who's leading our multi-stakeholder panel. And Paul Mokapetris, where are you? Paul Mokapetris, the inventor of the DNS and the leader of our 4th panel. He's back there, he stood up. Happy birthday, Paul. It's birthday today. You may have seen yesterday, we announced the 5th panel. The 5th panel will be chaired by President Toomas Ilves, the President of Estonia. And this is the panel that will look at the internet governance side. This panel took a little more time to assemble, but it's a panel that will help us prepare for the year ahead and give us some solutions and some ideas that will shape the internet governance debate in the coming year. I want to thank President Toomas Ilves, who's an eloquent speaker on multi-stakeholderism. In fact, some of his speeches are quasi-manifestos on why multi-stakeholderism is the way forward. And I want to thank Vint Cerf for agreeing, in addition to his panel here, to also serve as the vice chairman on the Internet Governance panel with President Toomas Ilves. Thank you, Vint. And also with us here are some of the panelists on that. There is Olaf Kolkman, who's the past IAB chair. He's probably here somewhere in the room. Thank you, Olaf. And we also have Lynn Saint-Amour, the CEO of ISOC. Thank you, Lynn, for agreeing to serve with us on this panel. And I will serve on this panel as well, which is the only panel of the 5 that will be in partnership with an educational institution and with an international organization. So the USC, University of Southern California, Annenberg Foundation, as well as the World Economic Forum, the WEF, have partnered with us, so we ensure that this panel has some level of independency and is functioning on a broader scale globally. So we welcome all 5 panels. They do not usurp who we are. They enhance who we are. They inform us. They give us more input. And we thank them for the great work they're putting. So this is our model that all of you know. And this model will survive with us in the next year and the year after that. There's a lot of work still to be done. So I'm going to share with you now what I think we could have done better on this in the last year. I have not achieved my goal in the area of measurements. I wanted a deeper set of measurements on our success. Many of you who come from an operational background know how important metrics are. We're not done. We have more work to do. But by the time we meet next year, we would have had a living set of metrics that allow us to track every area of this model across ICANN. We have the beginnings of the model, but it didn't advance as far as I wished. So once it's ready, and I hope sooner than later, I will share it with you. And it'll be our scorecard. It will allow us to see how we're managing in a very precise way. Another area we didn't do very well, I think, last year is cost controls. And this is why I'm putting a lot more emphasis on cost control this year. This doesn't mean we plan to reduce our services and the quality of what we do. But this means when we grow from 125 people by next June to probably 300 people, and our expenditures grow, it means we need to put in place cost controls. This is very important. This is an area where I promise you next year we will do better. The third area where I don't think we did as well as we hoped is the website itself. Notwithstanding my ICANN, we did some few things to make the website better, but our team is very hard at work to completely change the experience of ICANN.org. And we are doing it in consultation with the community. We're getting a lot of feedback through ICANN Labs, and I promise you that by Singapore, we will have a whole new experience at ICANN.org. Lastly, the fourth area we didn't do very well at is the area I promised to break the silos. When I arrived at ICANN, it was very quickly obvious to me we have a lot of silos. There were silos within my team, within the staff. People were not coordinated, were not integrated. There were silos between the staff and the board. These we have addressed. Today, within the ICANN team, staff, there are no silos. And we did that not just by telling them, talk to each other, but by creating for the first time a cross-departmental project management tool that allowed projects to be worked at horizontally, not vertically, across all of ICANN. And this tool is working and driving our activities. With the board, we broke all the walls between the staff and the board, and there were many. When I first started, the board had a meeting in LA, and I asked the board if we could have our first lunch with the whole staff. And we started mingling. And staff members were asking me, can we talk to the board members? Yes, you can talk to the board members. Can we exchange ideas with them? Yes, of course you can exchange ideas with them. This is how difficult it was. Today, we are completely open. And that's the only way to go. Transparency and openness to break the silos is how we need to move forward. Some of you may have seen that at some of the input that I got from the community, I moved my own office at this ICANN meeting to the hall. It's completely open. You can come and visit me anytime. But if I'm in a meeting, allow me to just finish the meeting. But my office is outside. Complete transparency. This is something I need to learn and continue to learn, because that's the only way in the ICANN community, in this multi-stakeholder community. I must tell you that as I look forward to the next year, I have two things I want to tell you about next year. The first is that I understand that the marrow of ICANN is our multi-stakeholder nature. That's our marrow. And if I don't live in that marrow with you, then we don't get there. You have my commitment. Sometimes it appears that I'm not as committed to that model. But believe me, the energy, the enthusiasm that I have is because of you. It's because of that model. It's not because of what I want to achieve. It is because of what you have invited us, all of us, to do together. That's my commitment to you. That's the marrow I will not forget. And I learn. As I go, I learn. And sometimes I speak my mind as I learn. And those of you who don't know me well think that he's changing his mind. I just speak my mind as I go forward. That's my style, and forgive me for it, but it's the only way for me to be completely transparent and to show you what I know and what I don't know. One of you sitting here in the front hit me with a mallet to understand something the other day in Vancouver. Thank you for that, Russ. It was very helpful. But I learned something from that. By listening, I learn. And my commitment to you is to that marrow. We need to keep it. And the second commitment I make to you is, as we get busy next year with internet governance, that I will not forget that what's most important is to make ICANN continue to perform on the things you've wanted us to work on together. Our eye will not get off the ball. Yes, we will look at internet governance and the environment, but our home first. And that commitment you have from me moving forward. I also want to tell you that I've just added 2 email addresses at ICANN for me, because many of you know that I get so much email that somebody has to read it and sift it and tell me something. These 2 new addresses come to me directly. You can use them starting tomorrow morning. The first one is learn from year 1. Things I can learn from my first year. Things you've seen that I can do better. Learn year 1 at ICANN.org. This is yours to use, and I will read them. And the second one is do year 2. Things you'd like me to do in year 2. Please write me. I do read. And it's very important for me to be one with you. Because if we lose this unity, we're not going to do well. United, we have a tough year ahead. And that's the elephant in the room that I haven't talked about yet. Many of you are arriving here to Buenos Aires to talk about what's happened in the last 3 months, what's been going on. We will talk about this, no worries. We have plenty of sessions in the next few days to talk about it. These are the sessions where I will be there, our team will be there, our partners from the iStar community will be there. We're all attending, we're all participating, we're all listening. Together, we should figure out the year ahead. So that elephant should go away, and instead, it should be our cause. Today, I wish to tell you that why we moved on this area in the last few months is to protect ICANN. ICANN was under pressure to increase what it does, to make its remit larger. ICANN's model of multi-stakeholderism was under pressure. And the Snowden revelations didn't help, because they pushed more people to say, we need governments to govern the internet. We need to stand up for our model. And therefore, what we did, together with the iStar leaders, was to energize the process. We didn't invent anything new. You've been working on this for years. All we did was to energize the process. And the energizing of the process is going to lead us all to work together. So let's mobilize. This is our moment. In the next 12 months and 24 months, the world wants to see us as one. And how do we do that? So we propose to you OneNet. What is OneNet? OneNet is a canvas. It's an empty canvas. There's nothing on it. Bring your pens and pencils and come draw on it. Tell your stories. You've had these stories, you've lived them. They're not our stories, they're your stories. OneNet is a place where all of us can tell the world what we believe in. We believe in a multi-stakeholder model to govern the internet. We do not want large centralized organizations. We want a network of nimble, agile, bottom-up institutions. Write these stories. Let's work together, and let's make OneNet the canvas on which we all tell our stories. I hope you have a wonderful week. Welcome to ICANN 48.